So, what does a great AV proposal even look like? Well, let's get into it.
Welcome to the Event Pro Show, your ultimate guide to the world of corporate events. Whether you're a corporate event planner, experiential marketing pro, producer, technician, or anyone involved in creating exceptional events, this podcast is your go-to resource for valuable insights, expert tips, and inspiring stories from the industry's leading professionals.
Well, thank you for joining us on the Event Pro Show. I am your host, Seth Macchi. I'm the CEO of LEMG. We're an event production company based in Charlotte, North Carolina. We travel all over the country with meeting planners producing primarily corporate events. And so we're spending some time in a 5-part series called the AV Playbook for Corporate Event Planners. And welcome to part 3, where we'll continue looking at AV RFPs, but we're going to look at it from the perspective of, okay, now you've received them, an AV proposal from your vendors that you're reviewing and looking at. So how do you even know if you received a good proposal? What does a good AV proposal even look like? What are the parts that it should have? And in the last episode, I mentioned how you can write better RFPs to receive good proposals back, because proposals can be kind of varied and challenging to compare. And so writing a great RFP helps with that. So if you want to go to the eventproshow.com and check out the last episode, I outline that there. But okay, so now you've received proposals for your event. What does a great proposal look like? Well, before I jump into the components of a great AV proposal, I want to share with you the behind the scenes of what is happening at the AV company. So AV production is essentially the business of AV production, especially for corporate events, is broken down into a few core components. This is the way I think about it. I am not the singular authority on the AV industry, but I think of it in 3 buckets. So you've got your creative and ideation, you've got your equipment, and you've got your talent. So let me talk about each one. Creative and ideation is and includes things like renders and drawings, creative concepts. It can even be video production, like pre-produced videos. But I also throw in things like site surveys. AV vendors will do site surveys as well. That's a service that you should expect to at least cover expenses, but also charge for their, pay for their time. So if you're flying somebody across the country to go look at a venue with you, that should be something that you expect to pay for, but it can save you so much. Just to have a little side note, to have your AV partner join you on a site survey. But creative ideation, that's bucket 1. Bucket 2 is the equipment that it's going to take to do the project. And that's what you typically think of when you think of an AV company. You think of microphones and LED walls and cameras and stuff like that. But then you also have the third bucket is talent. And I'm moving away from the word labor here. A lot of times you'll see that listed as labor, but I like the idea of renaming it, rebranding it as talent, because these are the talented individuals that make your event happen. They're the make or break of the event, if you will. Everybody can find where to buy the equipment, but it's very difficult to have great talent on site, and that's really the difference to a great event. But those are the 3 buckets: creative, ideation, equipment, and talent. So let's jump into what you should expect when you receive a proposal back. So first of all, you should expect company info. This is about the company that is submitting the proposal, and you'll probably see things like how long they've been in business, what their experience is, what their core competencies are, maybe a bit about their staff, maybe a bit about their leadership structure, how they manage events, those types of things. You should see your event info. And so the reason I think that's important is it confirms that they heard you, understood your scope, your schedule, et cetera, all of those items that you listed. you should kind of you see that laid out in a way that makes sense to you, and it shows that they understood your RFP and the vision of the project that you're doing. So you should see a summary of the services that they're going to provide as well within that. So your event info, and then underneath or somewhere near it is the summary of the services to be provided. And so that's kind of the basic, that's the obvious, that we are going to produce a 3-day conference in Phoenix, Arizona. We're going to have you have a large general session, a plenary session, and 12 breakouts across the facility, along with an additional offsite event on night 4. Just kind of an outline of what the event is and the summary of services within each space. Not line item detail at that point, but within each space, this will be a multi-camera shoots for up to 550 people in this space. This space will be that. And so it's like a summary of what you're going to get. And then you'll get into pricing. So you should see basic pricing. I love to see in each space what the pricing is, and then any discounts that have been applied, and then the total. So I like to see that. And then there should also be an option, and it might be something that you have to go back and ask for, is a breakdown of that pricing. So within each space, you might have a number, in space number 1, it might be, $109,000. But there should be a way to see, it might be collapsed and then you can expand it, or it might be a link that you go into, but some way to see, okay, in that space, let me see the whole gear list and what the pricing is. And, something like subtotal of each category. So audio is going to cost me, $14,000. Video is going to cost $35,000. You don't have to have line item pricing per se. In fact, I really like to steer away from that, except in certain use cases. But it's nice to see a full gear list. And there might be someone on your team that is like the person that really gets into the weeds on that. And then there might be others that just need to see the high level pricing. But you should have the ability to kind of really drill down. And then if requested items should be provided as well. So what I mean by that are, if you're requesting an initial render, drawings, photos of previous events that are similar to what you're trying to produce, those types of things, references or other, if requested items, an outline of your processes, maybe what your payment terms might be, maybe even your contract. I want to see your contract and how that lays out so our legal team can go through it. And so the if requested items should be bundled in that in a readable way, an accessible way. And you should expect that. One thing I'll say, though, is it is important to show what a production company can do, and they should be able to provide renders and drawings. But there is a limit to that. I've had experience with some clients, and they typically don't end up becoming a client, where they start getting into revisions of designs, and they want to start having pre-production meetings, those types of things ahead of time before they've signed a contract, before they've made a decision. I think that starts getting into the unrealistic expectation category of what a vendor should be able to provide you before you've committed and or paid for those services. So just be wary of that their vendors will give you a lot to show that they can do a job, but they shouldn't have to be then designing your show fully before you choose them. There should be enough information that you can understand that they are totally competent. They know what they're doing. They have the experience, but they should not be having to do work that you would pay them for in order to earn that business. I hope that makes sense. And then this is an important one. I think that it's very important to talk through a proposal with each other. So literally screen sharing or meeting face-to-face and going through the proposal and talking it out. If your company or who you represent is going to be spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a project, it's worth that 30-minute conversation. It doesn't have to take a ton of time, but I think it's worth a conversation, especially if it's a new relationship. But on these projects, even with existing relationship, just talking it through, just making sure, did we hit everything? Did we understand that correctly? Even if you wrote a great RFP, there will be questions. There will be things. Hey, in that venue, I don't know if you knew this, but they have their local union there has this rule, that we need to comply with or whatever. We need to talk through all these issues. And so I think that, having a request to go through the proposal in real time in some version of in person, whether that's a Google link or a Zoom link or in actual person, that should be expected too. It's worth the time to walk through. So I hope that was helpful in what to expect when you're receiving proposals back from AV providers. These are the items that I would expect to see so that I can then compare them apples to apples and make an informed decision on who is the appropriate vendor for this project that I'm about to produce. If you'd like to see our backlog, our previous episodes in this series called the AV Playbook for Corporate Event Planners, you can go to theeventproshow.com. And if you're planning a corporate meeting or conference and want a production partner that simplifies the AV process, please visit lemg.live to learn more about us. We'd love to talk with you and see if we can become partners in your future events and be some part of your event portfolio. But either way, thank you for spending time with us, and we will see you on the next one. The Event Pro Show is a production of LEMG, video by Nick Barrett, audio and post-production by Prince Thompson. You can learn more about us at lemg.live.